Hi students, my name is Pandika, your social studies educator at Study Room, and today we are going to cover a different chapter which is understanding the laws. So by far we have understood what is a law, which let's just recall. Law is basically a rule that is made by the government body, legislature, and the rule that is made has to be abide by each and everyone, so this is particular, so this is a law. So basically a rule which has been made by the government body, legislature, and which has to be abide by everyone is called as a law. Now let's move on to the next slide and dive into the chapter directly. Okay. So basically there is a rule of law in the country. So what is a rule of law? A rule of law says that each and every person is equal before the law. That is, no matter he is a president or a prime minister or a government official or the wealthiest person of the country, it does not matter. Each and every person has to abide by the laws that has been made by the legislature, that has been made by the government. Everybody has to follow the law. The rule of law means that the laws apply equally to all the citizens, no matter government official, no matter prime minister or president, or he is the wealthiest person. No matter whosoever he is, he has to follow the law. The law equally applies to each and everyone, and in case that he does not follow the law or violates the law, he is punished for the same. The law cannot discriminate between the person on the basis of their religion, on the basis of their caste and gender, and says that it applies equally to each and everyone. Moving forward. Okay. Rule of law in ancient times. So now we understood basically what is a rule of law. Now let's go back to the ancient times and understand from where did the origin of law came up. Okay, so as we know that during the ancient times there were different rulers and there were different kings for different states. Like, so in India we had different rulers and kings for one, let's say for Rajasthan, one, let's say for Delhi. So we had different rulers and kings for Rajasthan, for Delhi, and for, let's say, Maharashtra. So they were different, there were different rulers and different kings for different states, and each king had their own way of ruling the state. They had their own way, they had their own rules, and sometimes because of so many different kinds of rules in a country, it used to overlap those rules. It used to overlap and it led to a lot of confusion because each state had different rules. And because of that, sometimes there used to be overlapping of the rules. And so the Britishers, who were the ruler at that time, realized that because each and every king is ruling in their way, so there is a need for one law. There is a need for one particular, so there is not one law, there is a need for common laws. There is a need for common laws in the country. And so they began formulating the laws. There is a need for common laws in the country that is to be abided by each and every one in the country. And so the formulation of laws came up. Okay. So what used to happen? So basically when the Britishers realized that there is a need for the laws, what they did was they made arbitrary laws. Now what do we mean by arbitrary laws? Arbitrary laws basically means the laws. We know that laws are basically made for the betterment and for the welfare of the society. But they made arbitrary laws. They made laws. The laws were made in favor of the Britishers. Now, as we all know that basically laws are for the betterment of the society, for the welfare of the society. But what the Britishers made arbitrary laws. They made laws in the interest of their, in the interest of Britishers. The laws that were made were in the interest of Britishers and less for the betterment of the society. For example, they made the Sedition Act of 1870, which said that it is not allowed to protest or criticize the government. Now, you all know that we have a fundamental right, or if you don't know, we'll cover this fundamental rights in the other chapters. So, basically, fundamental right says, one of the fundamental rights says that you have the right to freedom. That is, you have the right to form organizations, you have the right to protest, you have the right to form associations, you have the right to say, you have the right to express your opinions, raise your voice, and criticize the government if you feel that government is not doing anything, government is doing anything wrong. So each and every person in our country has the right. But during the ancient times, during the independence, Britishers made arbitrary laws like the Sedition Act, which said that nobody is allowed to criticize the government. The government that time was the Britishers, and it said that you are not allowed to criticize us. We can do whatever we want to do with you. So this was the Sedition Act, which was which was obviously, it is quite evident that it was not for the betterment of Indians, but it was in the favor of, it was in the interest of the Britishers only. So this is how they made arbitrary laws, which were not in favor of the, in favor of the betterment of the society, but they were in favor of the Britishers. Also, they made this Rowlatt Act, which allowed the imprisonment without the due trial. So, in the other chapters, you'll understand how when a person who has done a crime or who has theft a thing is being caught by the police, he's not directly put into the jail. There is a long process that the person has to go through. There is proper investigation before the, so first the police officers write the FIR, then the investigation starts. Now then the person get caught. After that also there are few trials that happens. You'll understand all the process in the other chapter. By as of now, let's just understand there is a whole process before putting that person into the jail, right? You cannot put directly, you catch this person, you think that okay, this is the criminal, and you directly put the person into the jail. You cannot do that. There is a particular process that you have to go through. So according to Rowlatt Act, it said that you can put any person into the jail without going through that particular process. This Rowlatt Act gave so much power to the police officers that you can put any person that you feel like into the jail without even investigating, without even going through the particular process which is required. So this is how Britishers made arbitrary laws in the country. Moving on. Okay, evolution of the rule of law. Now the historians, what do we mean by rule of law? That how rule of law originated. Now we understood how laws originated. Now let's understand how rule of law originated. Now we know that laws were originated, but there were historians. Now historians argued, as I told you, that the laws were originated by the Britishers, but historians did not agree on this fact that Britishers started the making of the laws. As the historian says that first of all, the laws that were being formulated by the Britishers were arbitrary. Second thing which occurs is that not only the Britishers made the laws, but also the nationalist leaders of India also contributed in the making of the laws, contributed in the making of the constitution. When the arbitrary laws were formulated in the country, the Indian nationalists started to protest against the arbitrary use of the authority by the Britishers and fought for greater equality. They wanted to establish a law that include ideas of justice. Now, since, as I told you, that always the political leaders and nationalist leaders of our country wanted a free democratic India, and so they wanted to inculcate certain laws which justify the idea of a democratic country. And so when the Britishers implemented the arbitrary laws in the country, the nationalist leaders actually protested against those arbitrary laws because they wanted a democratic country. They wanted laws that justify that India is a democratic country. And so the historian says that not only the Britishers were responsible for bringing laws into the country, but the nationalist leaders also played an important role in bringing the idea of justice into the country by protesting against the arbitrary laws. Okay, moving on. So how do new laws come about? What do we mean by this? So basically what we mean is that we now know that what is a law. We know how laws came up. how laws came up. Now let's understand that when there is a need of a new law, the people who make the laws, how do they come to know that okay, this is a particular law that has to be made in the country? How does that idea comes into the mind of the political leaders that okay, this particular law is needed into the country? Who tells them that this law is needed into the country or this law should be made into the country? Who tells them, who awares them? Obviously the citizens of the country. Now, how do the citizens of the country aware them about the problem? So basically what happens that in case that there is a problem that the citizens are facing in the country, okay, we'll discuss the problems in the later slides, but let's just understand that let's assume that there is a problem that the citizens are facing, okay, and so basically what happens, they start raising their voice. If citizens have a problem, if citizens are facing a problem, like we know that right now there are farmers protesting on the borders of different states. We obviously they are protesting because they're facing a problem. They have a problem and they want their problem to get solved. Okay, so they are protesting because they want their problem to be heard and their problem to be solved. Right, they're raising their voice. So citizens in case have a problem, they raise their voice through protesting, through forming different organizations, by being a part of different associations, right? So through these methods they basically raise their voice, and through these methods they want that their problem is being heard by the parliament. Their problem is being heard. If the problem will be heard, the problem will be solved, right? So in case that there is a problem, the citizens through the process of through voting, through protesting, through forming or different organization, to join different associations, they basically try to raise their voice and reach up till the parliament so that their problem is being heard, right? So when the problem is being heard by the parliament realizes that okay, there is a problem that is prevailing in the country and we need to solve this problem. Now sometimes in order to solve the problem, a law is being made in the country. For example, let me just give you an example over here. As we all know that there was discrimination in our country, that the people of the upper caste used to discriminate the people of lower caste, considering them as Dalits or not giving them equal right. So this used to happen in our country, and so the government heard this problem. The government came to know that this is a problem. Now, how did the government came to know? The people of lower caste started to protest. They started to raise their voice, and then the government came to know that okay, there is a problem that is prevailing in the country, and we need to solve this problem. In order to solve this problem, they came up with the law that discrimination has been prohibited under right to life. So discrimination, not under right to life, I'm so sorry. But discrimination is being prohibited in a country, and in case anybody tries to discriminate, that person will be punished for the same. So this particular law was being implemented into the country. Now this law was basically implemented to safeguard the people who are being discriminated, and so this somehow solved the problem because people stopped discriminating, because they knew that if they would, they will be punished. So this was this law that was made in the country to safeguard the people and to solve their problems. Now in the similar way, if people have some other problem, they raise their voice. The parliament hears the problem. They solve the problem by making certain laws to protect and safeguard. Now here the parliament has to be very sensitive to the problems faced by the people, because there are so many different kinds of people that live in our society, and the parliament has to keep in mind that any law that they are formulating has to be in the interest of each and everyone and not just one part of the society. As we discussed, that it doesn't has to be arbitrary, that it is for the betterment of one part and it is exploiting the other part. It has to be in the interest of each and every person. So the parliament has to be very sensitive while making the laws. Okay, moving forward. So here is an example of a law, how it was formulated and how the parliament came to know about it. So the Protection of Women from the Domestic Violence Act 2005. So what basically happened now, there were two women. So the two women used to work at the same place, and this one woman shared to the another woman that she is being a victim of domestic violence. Her husband beats her every night, and she wants this problem to be solved, but she does not want to share it with somebody else, like to the police officers or anybody. She does not want to go out to the police station, but she wants this problem to be solved. She does not want to be beaten up by her husband. And the woman that she's sharing her problem to says that I am also facing the same problem. My son and my daughter-in-law, they economically abuses me. That is, they does not allow her to access her own bank account. They don't give her money to fulfill her daily needs. So she's basically economically abused. And she's not being given the money. She's not being allowed to access her own bank account. Now both the women are sharing up their problems, and what they decided to form this organization. When they formed this organization, all the other women who were facing the same problem started to join her organization, and slowly and steadily they started to raise their voice on a very big platform, so that the parliament hears the problem. When the parliament will hear the problem, obviously they will think about it and will solve this problem. So what basically happened, they started raising their voice, and the parliament finally heard the problem, and they thought that okay, this is a severe problem and something has to be done. And so an act which is known as the protection of women from the Domestic Violence Act was formulated in 2005. And this act came into effect, that is, it was made in 2005, but it was implemented into the country in 2006, and it extends the term domestic to include all the women who live or have lived together in the shared household with the male perpetuating the violence. So basically this act was to prohibit the domestic violence in our country, that in case any male tries to dominate or do violence with the women of the house, it could be the mother, it could be a sister, it could be the wife. So any women of the house, if she will be physically abused, emotionally abused, any time mentally abused, so the person who is actually doing that will be punished for the same. So this particular act was made to safeguard the women of the house. Okay, so now let's understand how did the act came into effect. Okay, so in 1990, the need for the law was raised in the forums, that the women started raising their voice to the form of organization. In 1990, the lawyers collectively drafted the domestic violence bill. So basically, before we make a law, we make a bill. On the bill, all the requirements of the law are being written, and it is shown in the parliament to be passed to make the law. So a bill is basically formulated before it is made a law, which has all the requirements of the law and what is this law all about. So everything is written on this bill. So this bill was drafted in 1999. In 2002, the standing committee shared its recommendations in the parliament. And in 2005, the bill was reintroduced. Now, if in 2002, the standing committee has already shared it with the parliament, why has been the bill reintroduced in 2005? So there was a reason. So when in 2002, the bill was being shared in the parliament, the bill had a drawback. Not a drawback, but a committee. Now, what was that? Basically, the bill had written that if in any case, any male tries to physically abuse the women, that male will be punished. Now, it only included physical abuse, but the women that the other women who shared a story was not facing physical abuse. She was facing physical abuse, meaning beating a woman, okay, hurting her by physically beating her. So when the other women, when she shared the story, we understood that she was not being physically abused, but she was being emotionally and economically abused. Now, if you torture someone, and when you torture someone by not giving them the access to their bank account, not giving them the money to fulfill their own basic needs, if you will torture them by making unnecessary hurtful comments and taunts, the person will get depressed. This is also a kind of abuse. This also hurt and depress women, hurt and depress people. Obviously, not only physical abuse, because physical abuse is seen, that okay, this woman is being beaten, so that is being seen. But when a person is being emotionally or economically abused, that is not being seen. That is something that it is on the inside of the body. So this is also a kind of abuse which also creates the same hurt as a physical abuse creates. So the 2002, the women actually said that no, this only includes physical abuse. We also want emotional, health and economical abuse to be included into the bill. And so in 2005 the bill was reintroduced and passed in the parliament, and so in 2006 it included all the kinds of abuse, physical, mental, emotional, economical, and so the act came into effect in 2006. Alright, so I hope that you understood how an act comes into an effect and how a new law, the idea of a new law comes into the mind of the policy, that comes into the mind of the law makers. This brings us to the end of this video. We'll connect in the next video. By then, thank you so much for joining me on StudyToon.